All right, ready? All right, so there's this third. All right, so for the last three of the techniques that we're going to be going over right now that are primarily used as strikes, we have the Uechi strike.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't even covered that. It's like the first thing you learn in the whole darn system. Same general hand position as when we went over the chop, right here. And for this one, you're hitting with your fingertips. All right, now, to land this in a fight, the conditioning level has to be extreme. I know I am not conditioned enough to do it. I do not think he is either. That being said, Shinjo Sensei is, and we keep bringing him up because he's just the most famous guy with it, but he can take his 4 fingers through like 4 boards. The dude is crazy with his fingertips. And I do know I have some other instructors who are strong enough that they can hit me with this and it does actually hurt, and they can hit me while I'm moving around. So it is possible, but it just takes years and years of practicing and conditioning. And so that's gonna be up to you whether or not you're gonna learn to condition your fingers well enough to do it versus just adjusting it to a fist, which is what I do. Again, it's real simple. You're coming here, shooting it straight out. So straight out like a punch. When you're shooting it, you're usually going into the soft tissue, so you could adjust it for the throat. You can maybe do a solar plex shot into the soft joints muscles here. And this position, while we're starting off simple Uechi strike that way, it is often adjusted. The same strike is often in other katas adjusted sort of downwards as another one of our strikes.
Oh, yeah.
Where you will be going in sort of to like the floating rib area and hitting in that way, or in between the gap in the gap in the ribs right there, and shooting in that way. It is used to drive in and strike. It is again, not a technique I would use because I just don't have the conditioning for it. We've talked about this in past videos about the farmers and the conditioning that they were willing to do that we don't necessarily have time to do anymore. Or we just aren't doing it.
There's no way. The amount of, like, if you take the likes of my grandfather, for example, who's a labourer who also worked on the farm, when he wasn't picking up massive blocks that were digging into his hands, he was out in the farm and you weren't given a shovel. You had to get your hands and shove it into the ground to pull out the weeds and stuff. And that's pretty much the same of most of your grandfathers. Most of your grandfathers would have been labourers that would have, if they weren't in the building site, they were out looking for work out in the farms and stuff.
Well, now I have to bleep out the F word.
Oh yeah. the old countryman talking about the old days. But regardless, they were old-fashioned labour men who used to be out, if they weren't out in the building sites, building most of New York and stuff, for example, where they're picking up big massive blocks and then having no ladders, picking themselves up. We have photos of New York of lads trying to pull themselves up with their bare hands, and then when they're not on building sites, they're out looking for work in other places like the local farms and stuff, not given the right equipment, where they have to use their hands to dig up weeds and stuff. You're going to have conditioned hands that can do these kind of whacks and slaps and all this kind of stuff.
And I don't have that, and I know I'm not personally. Again, you might do it, but I know I am not going to put in the time to condition it. But just to go over for the sake of history and tradition, you can strike. Those are the ways you would kind of use the strikes. Here, 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 here. Again, I will take this and adjust it either with a normal punch into those same areas, or maybe this strike, because I feel like it requires a lot less work to condition enough to use the Hiraken.
To be honest with you guys, myself and Leonard are here to not just study traditional karate, but we're also into modern karate as well. But as part of us studying traditional karate, we'll be doing the stuff that we're not conditioned for. But the reason for it is to preserve the history that came before us. The amazing history that gave birth to likes of Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, that kind of history, but the Okinawan version of that. We're trying to preserve all of that. And this is the way we're doing it, by studying traditional karate, and because we're in love with it. And
You
we
just
also
named a
love
bunch of
modern
kung fu
stuff.
people. We're gonna have to change that one up.
But the reason why I say that is so you can put yourself in the shoes and understand this is the kind of history we're trying to preserve from the 1850s all the way up to the 1960s. A lot of people say, oh, that's very young not to be traditional, but we're trying to preserve it. That's why we're referring to it as traditional karate.
Yeah.
Rather than bin it, we're saving it.
Yeah,
because it's
instead
just
of
amazing
instead
history.
of skipping over stuff that we know we personally don't use, we're still showing it because it is part of the history and tradition of the system.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to totally ignore it just because it's not something we personally
Like,
would use.
Myself and Leonard have openly admitted we're using, for that area, when we're going like this,
With double punch.
we're changing this into
Yeah.
the punch into the stomach, because
Yeah.
that's how we use it for modern karate. Traditional karate, we're straight in.
Yeah. Yeah, another one, and again, doesn't mean you have to do that. If you want to take the time and condition, more power to you. Come on, show it to me in a video. It'll be dope. All right. The other ones, the eye flicks.
Well, we're
Yeah.
doing
So I have two different ways. I was originally taught it sort of flailing out
Yeah.
and cutting the eye, and then I was taught it recently here, where you're flailing that way. So what this technique we're talking about, I forgot the Japanese name. I'll add it down below. Is where hands are. They say they're coming to grab you or something. You move their hands out the way. That was a really lame version of it, but you move their hands out the way, and you flick, and it's an eye poke. Okay, it's an eye poke. That's what it is. We just make it look pretty,
Yeah.
right? So you have one version where you're flaring your fingers out that way, which is one way I was taught it, and the other way I was taught it was hitting them this way and trying to take these two fingers and popping them in the eyes. So, boom or boom.
As myself and Leonard were talking privately earlier, you do see this a lot in UFC when people are being slightly cheeky with the rules and the gloves are up and they'll slightly push down the person's hand and flick him.
Yeah.
You'll see the likes of DC doing it. You see the likes of John Jones doing it. Have you any other examples?
There's a lot of people
Yeah.
who've done it, maybe on accident, maybe on purpose. We know Jones and DC were doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
They've both, like,
Alleg-
Jones hasn't admitted it, but DC's admitted it.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, eye pokes are probably the word. I think when a guy gets eye poked, I think it should be a 1-point deduction no matter what, because you can't see.
Thanks.
Like if a guy has a bad eye poke,
Right.
I would say that's probably the worst out of all these things, because at least
Yeah,
when you
plenty
get
of
hit
time,
low, you can recover eventually.
Make sure
But
that you're physically
you can
mentally
speak to
ready.
this. You
Yeah,
get poked in the eye.
I know I've been poked in the eye, but I've poked a few dudes in the eye. I'm trying to stay out of this one. Joe, I'm trying to stay out of this one.
You know, the gloves. It was all the gloves.
Yeah, it's the gloves' fault.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
gloves' fault that you poked him in the eye.
Yeah.
So again, that is a very easy way to apply that. It doesn't require much explanation. You block a punch, or block something, and you hit them with your fingertips. It's really that simple. One thing with karate is we'll have very simple techniques that are simple to do in real life, but we make them very pretty and a little extra in how we drill them. So that is one of the other traditional ones. You'll go into from your sun chin stance. You either flow down and hit there, or you'll flow down and you'll flare out. So that is the other. I think that's everything. I think that's all the strikes that we have.
Yeah, sounds legit.
Is that everything? We might have forgot something. If we did, someone mention in the comments. We'll go over it later. I don't remember anything else. We have, like, the fish tails are blocked, so we don't have to cover those in this video. I think that's everything.
Yeah, from a traditional point of view in the kata, yeah.
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 I mean, there's obviously more strikes in all of karate and whatnot. But.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's good for Uechi-ryu's traditional attacks. We went over how to do them with a lot of waffling on how we've kind of adjusted them a little bit. So you have the traditional version and the not so traditional stuff added in. I hope you guys enjoyed. For however long this video is, if I cut it up into multiple pieces,
It's getting cut up.
it's definitely getting cut up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate it. And please like, subscribe, hit that notification button to get to be here for the next video. Oh my gosh. All right, yeah, guys, just hit the subscribe button. We're gonna be doing stuff like this all the time. If you enjoyed it at all, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Talk to you next time. Peace.